You are defined by 2 days of your life, and most people define their life by the third day. Wait me up. Hear me out. Okay. 2 days of your life is your worst day and your average day. That third day that everyone defines themselves by is their best day. When we look at facilitating outcomes for our clients, a lot of our clients start off with, okay, this is the goal, this is what I want to work with. They're just like, cool, this is the ultimate thing that I want to reach, and this is where they are now. Cool. It seems pretty close. This is how excited they are, right? They're just like, cool, I'm here and I want to be here. If you guys can see that. So then they're like, okay, cool. What do I need to do to facilitate that? I will do whatever it takes. I will sacrifice, create boundaries, do the daily actions that facilitate that. And it's like, okay, cool. Like let's go with weight loss, for instance. The ultimate goal for a weight loss client in a vacuum is eat less and move more, right? But then what does that mean? Like, how much do you eat? How much do you move right now? And like, they don't have an answer. And I was like, okay, I think a lot of people then in a vacuum go, what's the quickest process to facilitate this goal? It's like, okay, cool. Let's track your steps and count your calories, and then create a baseline within that, and then we will then reduce, right? And it's like, well, a lot of people want to count calories for an extended amount of time. Steps by themselves are definitely going to help, but then are they counting their steps on their phone and their watch, or just their watch? And do they have the time and or the process, framework, structures to get their steps in? And they're like, this is too much. And it's like, yes. So then why would you say eating less, moving more is going to work when you don't even know how much you eat, how much you move, how to count the calories to know how much you have to eat less of, and how do you know you need to move more, but right now you don't move at all? And I tell you to do 10,000 steps and you don't even know how much steps you're currently doing, and you don't even walk right now, how would you know how to do that? So the ultimate thing that happens is that if this is where they are now, and then there's like a trajectory of momentum, they're just like, woo, I'll do whatever it takes. And that's only day one, and that's day two. Day three is a bit harder, because ultimately it's not just that momentum's disappearing, but that excitement's pushing them. And then by the fourth day, they drop off because they start to realize that they don't actually have the structures in their life to battle these new habits. So ultimately, we look at it like, if your goal is to lose weight and you need to know how much steps you're doing and how much food you're eating, and then we're like, cool, let's just do the easiest process, which is like calorie counting. And then most people who need to lose weight end up eating out more than they are eating inside their house. Then how do you track calories when you're out? And it's like, well, that's an obstacle that we have to deal with, right? So that obstacle makes that momentum go. They're just like, dinner and lunch I had to eat out because I had to see a client and I had no capacity to track those calories. And then they have that like proof or evidence that they can't, that they don't need to track calories because it's too difficult. And then because of that lack of momentum, they end up creating more proof, more evidence that they don't need to do that. What I'll do instead is I'll walk a little bit more. So then they come back up and they walk a bit more. They start running, they start doing the more difficult things. And then because of that, they get more hungry, and then we're back down. And because they stop tracking calories, they don't actually know what calories they're up to. And then, so what day is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then they've stopped counting calories up to day 6. And all we've done is 3 days worth of tracking. So now we're stuck. And then all I wanted from them is 2 weeks worth of data to see how much they eat and how much they're walking. That's all I've asked, but without a vacuum of understanding of who they are, what they're doing now, and what potentially might be the reason why they've gained the weight. Cool. So that's why I don't like the idea of just like, hey, this is the goal, this is how we facilitate the goal. Don't worry about who you are, what you do, and how you got there. Let's just do the quickest way to get there to the end result. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't. And if it does work, that the only thing that's making them rock up more is momentum. And this is why I'm talking about the best day trap. Their process from A to B, from who they are to who they want to be, is dictated through momentum and discipline that they have to get there. And let's just go with this. A lot of people potentially watching this are going, well, that's okay. I've done it before. I've literally moved from where I am now to where I want to be. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then what happened? Like, you didn't learn anything in the way. You didn't know, oh yeah, 20 minutes a day I walk, I eat 160 grams of protein. They don't know what their favorite fruit is. They don't have their favorite vegetables. They don't have a snack that they go to when they're hungry but isn't high calorie. They don't have social boundaries because their whole process was dictated on the idea that they have to just say no to everything, create sacrifices, do the hard thing, get the result, and now what? So my goal is to not have a process that's dictated towards what your best day is, but what your worst day is. So you got to your weight loss. You got to the weight you currently are because you had a lot of bad days, which is ultimately fine. You got there because you had a lot of bad days and you didn't consider that you're going to have them on the journey towards where you want to be and where you need to be. And now you should start to recognize that you're having a lot more average and bad days than you were having good days. And you started dictating your process towards that. And that best day trap is the reason why you keep starting over. So then instead of saying, hey, I'm going to get you to eat less, move more, my first goal is to figure out how many steps you do. How many steps? And then what are your current daily actions when it comes to input? So how much fruit do you have? Fruit, veg, and then what is your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Okay? And then from there, we can go, cool. We can figure this question out, and then we can add, which is how many steps. We can figure this question out, and then we can add. We can figure this question out, and then we can add. And then we can figure out, are you having breakfast? 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you most people don't have breakfast. And then they don't have lunch because they ran out of time. And then their dinner is packed. And then they have snacks. And then they tell me that they eat 1,300 calories because that's what they've kind of gauged it on. And then they have a bad day. Or they have an average day, meaning on the weekends, they ate a little bit more than they usually do. It's like, cool, that's okay. Don't hide that from me. Now the goal is to work on those bad days. It's like, cool, what do you do on your worst day? It's like, usually on my worst day, I might grab a pizza. I might have a cigarette. I might not even have fruit, might not have vegetables. I'm like, okay, man, I'm not judging you. You got here because of those bad days, because of those average days. We haven't even talked about the average days. You got here because of those bad days. The goal is to now raise those bad days so you stop defining your process through your good days. Stop having that best day trap. So now the goal is, okay, on your worst day, you don't walk, you don't eat fruit, you don't eat veg, and you have a lot of snacks, and you eat out. Matt, okay. Now the goal is to foundationally raise that ceiling, so that roof becomes more easier to reach. So then on their average day, they might walk 10 minutes. Walk 10 minutes. They might have 1 fruit, 0 veg, 2 sources of protein. Mad. So then my goal is to then increase that capacity on their average days so that this day, their average, I define as a B day, this day turns into a C day. And then their average day in 2 weeks' time becomes a 20-minute walk, 2 fruit, 1 veg, 4 sources of protein. So what's happened between the average day and the worst day is that they've just halved what they usually do. But their worst day, they didn't get any walks in before. And their worst day, they definitely didn't have any fruit because on their average day, they had 1. On their worst day, we don't talk about vegetables. And on their worst day, we had probably 2 sources of protein, and that's because of the pizza they had. So then the ultimate process that we're looking at is that now that if they got to where they are now because of their worst day, and now their worst day is better than their best day, no, rather, their average day, then we're really moving forward. Because their best day, or their A day, I'm gonna like find a way in which I scrub this out. What their A day used to be, the one that they defined their whole process towards, was a 40-minute walk, 2 fruit, no veg, because a lot of people just don't have enough veg anyway. I want to say 2 meals. And it's usually leafy greens and 2 sources of protein. This process works because their output's higher, their input is clearly low, and they might substitute snacks for fruit. And when they're the highest momentum, this is the process they utilize. And like between me and you, I would be so bored and hungry and tired and lethargic from that. And what, they would expect me to lose 10 kilos in 10 weeks because of that? Probably not. So then the ultimate goal is to like find a process in which you can rock up more consistently than the days that you don't rock up. And that process needs to be yours. That process needs to be something that you want to show up to. Instead of going, I need more momentum, I need more discipline. The process needs to be something that you get excited about. And there are definitely days where you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. So that's okay. Let's have a B day instead. Let's reduce your capacity, momentum, effort, and just like walk 30 minutes, have 2 fruits because you know your favorite fruits, because you have your favorite protein sources. It's not going to be difficult to get them in. And maybe you actually have your favorite vegetable sources. And you have a walking route. Because if you don't have a walking route and I tell you to walk an extra 10 minutes, you're like, what do I do? Do I stay on the treadmill more or do I do this? I'm like, do whatever works for you. That's your ultimate goal. Okay, let's reiterate. The goal is you're here. You want to be here. I made it further away so for you to recognize that it is more difficult than you think it is. And that's okay. The second goal, obviously the first goal being that you're here and you want to be here. Your second goal is, who am I? What habits do I have? What habits are negative that are actually keeping me back here? And who do I need to become this person? You have to change your identity so you can start to recognize, what does this person do on a day-to-day basis, and then reverse engineer that to become that person. And I'm not saying that that's like, cool, yep, I'm just going to be, I want to lose 10 kilos and therefore that person who weighs 10 kilos is 80 kilos. And that 80 kilo person eats 2 fruits, 5 veg, 160 grams of protein, walks 30 minutes a day, drinks 2 to 3 liters of water, sleeps for 8 hours a day, and eats out once a week just because he sustains that capacity. And he goes to the movies twice a fortnight because he rewards himself for the effort that he's putting in. It's like, that's a lot of things that you need to do. And it's like, no, the goal isn't to practice all of that. The goal is to find which one of those would move the dial. Probably if you want to lose weight, probably the goal is to walk a little bit more. And then the goal is to go, cool, I want to walk a little bit more because I want to walk as much as that guy does or that girl does. Now I need to start practicing that every day on my average days and on my worst days. And on my best days, I'm not going to use that as a baseline of what I have to do every day, right? And then from not walking at all, and the goal is 40 minutes, every day I'm going to walk for 10 minutes for a week, and next week I'll do 20 minutes, and then the week after do 30 minutes, and now, cool, you've practiced one thing that person does. You are slowly building proof that you are going to become here, because now from here, you've moved. And then slowly but gradually, you'll start exposing yourself to more proof that you're becoming the person you want to become through the habits that you reverse engineered for the person you wanted to become. And then inevitably, you've raised that floor so high that the ceiling, which is the outcome, is just there in front of you because of those daily actions that you work towards